Have you ever wondered what is calculated in a home's square footage? In this episode, I'm going to share with you what goes into it. Welcome everyone to this episode of the Ask Jason Gelios Show. I'm Jason Gelios, Michigan Realtor, and I appreciate you tuning in to this episode. Out of all the things that you could be watching, you chose to watch this, and I really appreciate it, okay? Now, I get asked this often, and that's what gets calculated into a home's square footage? How do appraisers figure that out? And so, while I wasn't able to get an appraiser in time for the show on the episode, that would have been great, right, if I had one. I just want to share with you some of the factors, okay? So I put together some show notes here so that I don't miss anything. Now, let's go ahead and just dive right into this, okay? So first off, how do you calculate a home square footage? The formula is you measure the length and the width in feet of each room in the home. Then you multiply the length by the width to calculate that room's square footage. Again, measure the length, the width of each room in feet, and then you actually multiply that by the length and the width to calculate that room's square footage. Now, what spaces in a home actually count as square footage? And this is actually the part of this question that I get asked a lot is, what do you count in square footage? All right, so interior spaces of the home that are heated and cooled, okay? Bedrooms, closets, bathrooms, hallways, kitchen or kitchens in some houses, right? Especially if you have a kitchen in the basement or whatnot. Living areas, enclosed patios, we must know that, and then finished attics. So those are the areas that people consider, or that appraisers look for, and they actually include in the square footage that they calculate. So here's another part of this question is, well, is the basement included in the square footage? And that's a great question. So in most cases, an unfinished basement is not included in a home's square footage. So when you see a 2,000 square foot house, let's say, that doesn't include, well, I'm assuming a 2,000 square foot house has a basement. Most of those do, at least in my area. They wouldn't be on a crawl space or anything, but they could be, but most aren't in my area. However, okay, an unfinished basement is not included in that 2,000 square foot example that I gave you, okay? Now, there are a few cases where a basement actually counts towards a home's gross living square footage. For example, a walkout basement. Now, a walkout basement could be included in a home's square footage. However, it has to be styled similar to the upstairs. So it has to look like it's a full part of the house, not completely separate from the upstairs. In some cases that might be negotiable, okay? But a walkout basement, you know, if you have a house that's on elevation where the land goes down and then you just walk right out the basement, that's considered part of the square footage. Side note, I was in a house that was about 6,000 square feet, and it was a big house, right? Had 2 floors, but then it had the basement, and they were counting that basement because it was finished just like the upstairs as the square footage of the home, okay? Now, with that said, the garage. Many times people ask me, well, is the garage included? Because that's not really a living space. Well, it kind of is. Your garage will count as your total square footage. But here's the thing. You have what's called heated square footage, like I mentioned, right? The heated and cooled, okay? Mostly heated. And then you have the overall total square footage. So you have heated square footage and then total square footage. So garage does not count as your heated square footage, but counts as a total square footage. And many times when you go on, let's say the government website for the area, the township, city website, whatever, they'll actually give you an idea of like a little outline of how big the garage is. Okay, hundreds of square foot, whatever size house it is. Okay, so these are just some of the things, you know, that go into calculating a home's total square footage. If you're an appraiser watching this, share your thoughts on what you actually look for. Did I miss something? You know, can you provide some value? Otherwise, any of you, definitely share a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this episode. Hope you found this valuable, you know, in terms of what goes into square footage of a home. It's very interesting. And of course, there are some cases where, you know, they may be able to actually add or detract from what is being calculated into your square footage. So I hope you found this episode valuable. Be sure to follow me on social media. I put those links in the description, as well as visit my website. It's allabouttherealestate.com, where you can sign up for the pop-up form. You can receive this, a brand new episode in your email every week. I'm Jason Gelios, Michigan Realtor, and I appreciate you watching.